everyone. Lovely to be here. Different audience to what I'm usually used to, so I think way more intelligent than what I'm used to usually. So bear with me. Be gentle with me. It was weird, Richard mentioning Flash. I'm going to start with a little Flash thing. My early part of my career, I was known for a lot of Flash things, so I know people hate it now and wish it had never happened. But it was a very creative medium. And I'm going to talk about, I hate that word creative technologist. I'm not into technology, I just happen to use technology to do the things I do. But I hate that term creative technologist. I'm more interested in people, I think, and the idiosyncrasies of people and how people are weird in a good way and sometimes in a bad way. But people don't make sense to me, and I think this is what makes everyone human. It separates us out from machines. And many years ago, I used to make all kinds of weird interfaces and still do a little bit. And I wanted to make something that it was a search engine that was, the whole idea of it was so you could bump into things you didn't know you were looking for. I think search engines are great if you know what you're looking for, and it's like a linear view and you work through it, that's fine. And I love how Google works, obviously. So what I'm going to show you now is not how Google should ever work, or Amazon, or anything like that. It's kind of, I think, as people, we need to put things into the world that deserve to exist and upset people occasionally and create debate. So I'm going to show you this thing that I did. It was many years ago. It's created in Flash. Isn't online anymore because the API I used is dead. One of the problems sometimes with using APIs is they get bought and then they cost £10,000 to use them. So this was a thing I call Doodle Buzz. And rather than talk about it, I will show you a little video. So you type in a search subject, like New York City, for instance, and then there is no interface. And what you have to do is then draw your results. So you draw a line, and all the results get shown along this crazy line, and basically you start crying. All UX people are like going crazy and like crying into the, keyboards on the Chino. But the idea is that you search for something, and then you see something else, and then you draw a line from that, so different subjects. So here I've gone from New York City. There's a connection with Tehran, so I draw a line from Tehran. Now I'm suddenly looking at Iran, and then I can spin off that. And then you can click onto these subjects if you want and actually read them, or you can, now we go to like United Nations. So all these things are sort of semantically connected. And obviously, it's bonkers. The idea is it's meant to be ridiculous, but it's meant to celebrate serendipity and chaos and helping you search for things that you didn't know you were looking for. So you might search for, the Pope, but you might end up on Britney Spears. What's wrong with that? So obviously it's ridiculous, but the point is, I think as human beings, we should put these things into the world so it causes debate and also gets people a bit riled up. So let's have a fight in the car park with UX people later. Great. So I can think a lot of the stuff I do, I don't really try and create finite things. I try and create systems or environments that give opportunity for people to play within. And I do that by creating a system that has a set of parameters, and these parameters are kind of flexible. People can push and prod them, but it's the people make the thing. It's through that interaction that they make the work. And oftentimes, the way I win clients, I don't pitch for work or any of that. It's all word of mouth. But the other thing I do, I put things out there that I make for myself often to try and, it's kind of like a Venus flytrap. I put this stuff out there waiting for a client to bite. And luckily, it works quite often. So one such client, one thing I want to show you is this thing I did for Airbnb. I didn't paint that. That was, beyond my skills. So this is the Sundance Film Festival in 2016 in January. Anyone been to the Sundance Film Festival? Well, let me tell you now, there ain't no dancing, there ain't no sun. It's freezing cold. It's not in Hollywood. It's all about film, but it's near Salt Lake City. It's in a place called Park City. It's a ski resort. I hate the snow and I hate the cold, so I turned up there with my clients were Civic, who are an agency in New York, and I turned up there, and I went in that house that was still being set up, and they said, "Hey, Brendan," they're all like American, and everything's awesome, and they said, "Hey, Brendan, how are you enjoying Sundance?" I went, "It's freaking freezing." I was really proper miserable bastard northerner. I was like, "Oh, no, I mean, it's great. Yeah, really good." So they contacted me because of something I put out there as a personal project. And it had been out there for, maybe a couple of years, and it had been in a few galleries and museums, and I'd never earned any money from it. But they saw it, and let me show you what I did. So it was this thing. So as well as doing like software things, I make connected objects, electronics, hardware, weird connected things like this. And this is called the happiness machine. I think it's always important to, when you create work, give it a name. If this had been called internet-connected printer, shoot me in the head. It's called the happiness machine. So people are like, happiness machine, what's that? Well, so you straight away create some interest. So the happiness machine, I was kind of bothered by, and still bothered by, how people tend to bully each other on social networks. It's very easy to forget that on the other side of that handle is a human being. And I wanted to create a machine that sort of said, there's a person with feelings on the other side of that. So I created this little machine that when you press this button, it goes out on the internet and it finds blogs and tweets and all sorts of things where people are talking about feeling happy or mentioning happiness in some form or another. And it prints it out as a little receipt that you can then take with you, give someone, pin it up, whatever. So let's have a look how it works. I think we've got some sound music on this, Robin. Hit that rock volume. It's hateful music, I'm sorry. So this was, a few years ago, and eventually Airbnb see it because they're doing that house thing. And so they take over a whole house at the Sundance Film Festival, and it's a big, branded experience. And they said, could you be the main installation? Originally, it was just going to be one printer. I said, well, let's scale it up. Let's do 12. And it was a slightly different version where they wanted people to text message in a story. Originally said, or maybe it'd be tweets or something. I said, well, you know what? Text messages, they just work. Everyone has a phone, a mobile phone. Anyone can send a text message. Or the alternative was you go to a website and fill in a form and you submit a story about someone ace from your neighborhood or something, or that coffee shop, or just a story about neighborhood. And so we did it as SMS, and then it was a case of, actually, just let me show you this backtrack. This was in Munich. This is one of my favorite photos of it. This is when it was just on its own. And this is in Munich, and we were setting up in this very small gallery, and these three lovely German ladies walked by, and they saw we had all these, happiness receipts in the window, and they were there for swear to God, 10 minutes reading this thing. Now, what I love about this photo is, when I created this thing, they were not in my head as the audience. I thought, it'd be all the cool, geeky, beautiful people, right? But I think as you'll see, when you create something that has as a universal message, it appeals universally. They didn't care about the technology, they cared about the content. And the content in this respect was, Receipts of Happiness. It's written in English as well, and they're German, so, but obviously Germans, they all speak English as well. So I thought that was really lovely. So yes, universal themes connect universally. That's why I'm not interested in technology. I'm interested in how I create these themes that connect with everyone. Or sometimes niches. This is the art director from Airbnb. He's super cool, because look at his trousers. The shorter they are, the cooler you are. That's a well-known fact. Tweet that one. So this is, I think this is after a week of activity in the house. This is Christian, very happy Airbnb art director. And you can see, so each of these printers was printed, 3D printed by myself. Each one took a day to print. Didn't realize that when I did the budget. So that was a kind of nightmare. Had a month to make this thing from back-end electronics and everything else. So, yeah, and it's, what I love is, this is kind of one of my favorite charts. I don't know how many people can resonate with this. You have this idea, right? I guess it's why we're here today, to shorten that gap. You have this thing in your head, and it's beautiful and perfect, right? Or perfect as much as you think you can do it. And then the thing you make is like, oh, crap. It's like, what's that bit sticking out? It's like, so, never imagine that. So, and I think we go to things like this, we learn from each other, we go to conferences, we spend 10 hours a day on Stack Overflow to try and, shorten that gap. So the thing on the right tries to match, that's supposed to be a perfect circle, tries to match that thing on the left. Of course, the joke is it never will, ever. Stanley Kubrick made amazing films. Even he probably just saw flaws in every one of those films. We just see beautiful perfection and artistry. But he would always have seen flaws. And I think we always see flaws in our work, and that bit could have been better. But I think perfection is this sort of cruel joke that we try and get to, but we never can get to, but it's a good goal to have. So, yeah, lots of soldering, and so, and this is why I love the internet, right? This is, I didn't really know how, I was doing some CAD stuff, but it was super basic, and I didn't really have any CAD software, and then, the internet brings these new tools to you. It's amazing. How when you work with really great tools, the stuff you can make is way more beautiful. And this is a thing called Fusion 360. It's actually free if you're a student or a maker, and it's a full end-to-end system for creating 3D models, CAD, industrial design. It's pretty amazing, and it's so easy to use. It's insane. So yeah. Loved creating stuff like that. Love learning new things all the time. MakerBot, printing this stuff out. Took 12 hours. Horrific. That going on in your head all the time while you're trying to do other work. And this is the point, really, is that this is what it's about. I said to them when we were doing this, I said, oh, we better have an admin system, and what I'll do it so when people SMS in, it won't publish, it won't publish it. It'll put it in a database, and you will have to approve each one, because we're going to get, swearing. Let's face it. Everyone's going to be swearing at each other. And I think a day before it was due to go live, they said, "Oh, take that. We haven't got time. Just do it. Just all goes live." And I was like, "Mate, I've worked in Manchester for 10 years. Do you honestly, you want to do that?" And they were like, "Yeah, it's cool." So I did that. It just went live. There was no admin that they could turn things off. They could if they wanted to. And I swear to God, I think there was one with swearing on it. I don't know if they're happier over there or whatever, but it was astounding to me. And not just that. And the other thing, of course, is saying, well, is the content going to be any good? Is it just going to be, had a great coffee down the road, it's like 1 million times? And they were amazing stories. Some of them were like, really long stuff. Some were short, 2 sentences. All of them, as you can see, were pretty incredible stuff. I was astounded. And again, it's that thing of, you can't prejudge your audience. And, the cynic English person in me was saying, it's going to be lots of swearing. The reality was that people were amazing. And they made this installation what it became. 5,000 amazing stories shared in a week. And you could only access it if you were in the house. The phone number was only in the house. It wasn't an internet thing. So I was really astounded by it. And you create a system or an environment for people to play within, and they will surprise you. And they will often create this amazing content. Some more hipsters. No, he's a lovely guy. So yeah, you can see some of the length of these stories. And this is SMS, people are like, I don't know about you, but I'm like, the shorter the better for answers, just like, yeah. I don't know, it's like, when blokes talk to each other on the phone, are you meeting me later? Yeah, bye. Or if they just ring up for a conversation, you think something weird's going on, don't you? But on this, the SMS, and they're doing like these full-on essays. It's amazing. And Sundance tweeted about it on their Instagram feed, which was very nice. So the point is with this is that it was a personal thing that then went on to become a much, much bigger thing. And right now, thank you. Right now, I'm currently working on this again for an installation in New York in mid-July for the same agency, but for a different brand, but it's going to have a bit of a twist to it. And this guy, what's not to like, right? He took loads of pictures and he was just, look at him, he's so happy. It's like, I'm having this brand experience, yeah. So, yeah. But he was ace. Objects tell us things. I always loved do you remember the flip camera? I thought it was a beautiful thing. It was before we had good video on our phones, and then, as soon as that happened, it killed. It's funny, Cisco bought it, and then next minute we suddenly have video on our phones, and Cisco now have like a massive landfill of flip phones, which is a shame, because what I loved about this was this button here, this red button. And it basically said, just think back for a moment. You remember video cameras? You remember video cameras? You still buy them. But, they were like, they're quite big, aren't they? And pretty much always, they sat in a cupboard and you brought it out for weddings and christenings. And that was it. It was like a special occasion. Better get the video camera out, charge it up, a week before. And so you only ever videoed these like events where this thing came out and this button said, you have permission to shoot crap. That's what that said. It said, just shoot anything, food, yourself, who cares? And that's what I loved about it. So this object was giving you permission to do that. It was communicating something, but it was just a button. But that's what I loved about this phone. And you can do that with other things. I think objects talk to me all the time and talk to us and send messages out and change context. Here's the most exciting picture you'll see today. This is one of our teapots. We call it Thora, but hey, that's just us. But I'm fascinated by how a teapot changes the context of the environment. Normally, you have a cup of tea, and the cup of tea is like a sort of, you have a cup of tea and you drink it and then you get on with your day. A teapot is totally different. If you have a teapot in the middle of a table, you instinctively stay around longer because, oh, I think I'll have a second cup. So this teapot is giving you permission. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to look at bloody Facebook and cats playing pianos. Just, let's just talk and chat and, So, and it's just a teapot. It isn't designed to have that effect, but it does have that effect. And so, again, it's an object that is changing its context and changing the environment around it. The other one I love is, I love a good light switch. Now, a light switch is, I just need more friends, help. So, light switches, think about light switches. They give you permission to turn on or off the lights. Before light switches, if we didn't have light switches, it'd be a real pain to try and, I've got to turn the lights off now. Unscrew bulbs, Obviously, it's ridiculous, but that's what that switch is doing. It's a convenience thing, but it gives you permission. Yeah, turn the lights off if you want. Okay, easy, done. So, but yet, we don't really, think about them because they're just in every room we've got, right? But it got me thinking about this kind of stuff. And I did this project for MailChimp. Sometimes I approach clients or prospective clients and say, listen, I've got this idea. And in case of MailChimp, I went to them. I had a friend who worked there, so through that, I said, look, you're all about user experience, and you do some pretty amazing stuff, and they sponsor a lot of conferences. I said, why don't we get together and explore the future of email, or what email could be in hardware-related objects? What is email in a physical space? And they said, great, let's do it. So I did a proposal. I said, we'll call it 6 Monkeys. I know that monkeys aren't chimps, for any geeks in the room, but I like the name. So I did 6 of these objects, and some of them, well, one of them in particular, is inspired by that light switch. So I asked myself, why can't you turn your email off as easy as a light switch? So all your emails coming through, and then you get home at the weekend and you think, oh, I've had enough of that. Turn it off. It's giving me permission. Off all your devices, your email just shuts off. And you go, goodbye, annoying client, or, I have nice clients, but, don't need to have that. And this is such a simple idea, and I did 6 of these. I can show you a couple of others, but it was such a simple idea. This was the one, and that was more of a concept video. The others actually were fully working products. But that one I kind of figured out how it would work, but it was mainly a concept video. But that was the one where the internet just went crazy for at least most a day, which is a long time in the internet. This was the one where everyone was saying, where can I buy this? Can I have 6 of these in my house? Can you also turn off Facebook and blah, 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 Can it be a Kickstarter? And I've done a Kickstarter before that was successful, but I nearly died. So I'm never doing that again. But this is the one that people loved because they instantly, if you're, it's that whole elevator pitch, and you say to someone, well, what did you make? Well, it's like a light switch, but for email. They go, yeah, okay, here's my money. So maybe one day I should make it. But again, it's that very simple thing. It's universal. People kind of get it. No one's made it yet. I probably should make it at some point. And then putting these tools in the hands of people that, again, you didn't think was your audience. This was another simple idea. The idea of emailing a piece of hardware as an interface. Email as an interface. That was the idea of this one. So this object has an email address, and you can send it colors. So if you know the grammar, any email client can control this object. There is no API to learn. There's probably a little bit of the grammar to learn, but there is no app to download. There's no special website. You just email. Anyone using email can control this thing, right? So I gave this to my brother-in-law to test for 6 months, and he likes, stand-up paddleboarding and that kind of windsurfing type stuff. And he can't go if it's like really windy. So I gave him this. I said, you can email it, and this is the email address, and this is how you change the colors and make it flash if you want to. So how many people here use IFTTT? Yeah. So, you can connect things to and talk to each other, and you can get it to send emails. If it's sunny, you might get it to send an email or whatever. So he thought, he's not a programmer, by the way, at all. He thought, I know, I'll get it to check the weather, and when it's too windy for me to go stand-up paddleboarding, I'll get it to flash amber. And then he did about like 20 other of these rules. And I swear to God, he's still using it to this day. This is like 2 years old now, this thing. And it's still sat underneath his TV at home, and he has to take pills at 9, and it flashes red, and we've just become used to it, It's like an ambient thing. But what I love about it is the fact that he controls it just through this ubiquitous thing that most people hate called email. And what I was trying to do was make people fall in love with email again and go, just look at it in a different way, in a sideways way, and maybe it could be useful again. Again, he's not a programmer, he just learned the grammar, and he knew about email, so anyone could use it. And then you do something weird like this. Actually, before I show you that, I thought to myself, why are notifications, so this is back down to being human, I think. Notifications, have you noticed, they're like really in your face. They're like they really want to notify you, don't they? They're rude. There's another way for it, the word for it. They are rude, right? So I thought, what is a sort of very polite way of doing a notification in a ridiculous way? I don't think anyone would ever have these on the desk, but I did it anyway. So I did this thing where it was like a polite, slightly embarrassed notification system. And the thing was, it was completely silent. So this uses a technology called muscle wire, and it's a wire that when you pass an electric current through it, it contracts by about 4%, and then when you stop the electric current, it goes back. So with that, you can make levers and things. And the beauty of it is it doesn't make any noise. There's no motor, nothing. So it's kind of a bit mysterious. Anyway, I shall show you. So it's a ridiculous thing. Let me know if I'm waiting for this email from John, so let me know when I get it. I might be working away. And it comes up, and it says, oh, you got that email from John. And then it goes, oh, sorry, you're busy. I'll just go back down. I'm like embarrassed. So it's kind of this polite, slightly embarrassed notification system. Yeah, it was a weird one, that. No one wanted that as a Kickstarter, but it's weird. Some people, they really love that one over the light switch. So you've got different audiences you're trying to appeal to with your content. And finally, I want to show you this, because this got quite a bit of attention recently. I love pencils. That's not the thing that got attention. It's my pencil case. I'm a bit of a pencil geek. So if anyone wants to chat pencils in the bar later, I've got some of these with me, so we can all look at the Blackwing 602. I love pencils because they're kind of inconvenient, but they're also beautiful at the same time. So here we have a little bit of a pencil history. This is a Dixon Ticonderoga 1388-2, obviously. This is the one that is used in pretty much every school in the US. It's the one that Roald Dahl used to write Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's the only pencil he would use. At the top is, you're very honored to see it, it's a Blackwing 602 by Faber-and-Castle. That thing is now, to buy that one pencil is about 60 quid. Because they don't make that one anymore. And it's like, that's the one Chuck Jones, Looney Tunes creator, Wile E. Coyote and all that, Roadrunner. he would draw with that pencil, and it's like what I think a lot of Disney people used as well. So I've got about 5 minutes left, I think. Four. So that's perfect. But don't be like me and pay 60 quid for that pencil. You can buy the reissue. Anyway, I'm sorry, people are falling asleep now. But the cool thing is about pencils, they've got this amazing interface, this amazing UX. There's an undo at the top. There's a new. You know which part is the new bit to write stuff. They've got this built-in progress bar. It's so beautiful. And in its form, it's like genius, right? Now, if you're thinking, what about mechanical pencils, Brendan? Well, if you buy the book, How to Sharpen a Pencil, which is an amazing book, also look it up on Vimeo. There's an amazing video by the same guy. It's like a 10-minute long video about sharpening pencils, I swear to God. Mechanical pencils are bullshit. He's got a chapter in the book called Mechanical Pencils, and it's just that on one page. So, but if I just quickly move on to this, it won't take long. So I love this inconvenience thing. I used to make breakbeat albums, and I think all I do now is I still do the same thing where I take found things that already exist and put them together in new ways. I love vinyl, and I love digital things. I'm a big Spotify user. But I was kind of missing that tactile nature of vinyl. But I also loved the beauty of digital. Spotify brings me more new music than I ever found going through Dickie Discs where I live. It's no longer there. I think he's dead. But you go through the vinyl, and I spent my youth in these vinyl record shops, and it's amazing. But I actually get more music, new music, through Spotify. So I'm not trying to romanticize the past. So what I wanted to do was, how do I combine the love of vinyl and putting something on a platter, and that anticipation? I think the thing I love about it is when that needle drops, those few seconds between the needle dropping and the music is, to me, what makes us human. And I think it's a beautiful thing. So how do I do that? Well, I didn't go out, and I made this electronic thing. I had this box of slides that were sitting there, honestly, for about 5 years in a cupboard. Thought, I need to use those slides at some point. And I always had this idea of making this thing, and then, so it involves a Raspberry Pi. Anyway, I'll show you. And it works with Spotify and NFC tags. So you take an album, you drop it on the thing, you drop it like it's hot, as the young people would say, and you drop it on there, and it will play that album. And it's all been streamed to Spotify. I've had enough of Velvet Underground. Let's go a bit more modern LCD sound. So you get the idea. So this was, again, it went out on the internet. Put your work out there. Hopefully try and inspire people. Ideas in sketchbooks do not change the world. Don't keep your ideas locked in the sketchbook because you think someone else is going to do it. If you put it out there, well, guess what? They're already working on it. So put your work out there. It works as NFC tags, which are tiny, little tiny stickers. And I guess this is one of my messages, really. In all the work that you do, and the way you create your content, your websites, etc., whatever it is, hardware, software, I think it's important to imbue the objects that you create with the capacity to be loved by other people. Thank you.